The day was September 30th, 2022. The city of Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso's capital, woke to the sound of gunfire. Soldiers were on the streets. They moved quickly in armored vehicles. People stayed in their homes, unsure of what was happening. News reports were confusing at first. Was it another attack by jihadist groups, or was it something else? By the end of the day, the answer was clear. The military had taken control of the country. This was the second coup in just 8 months. The government of Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Sandaogo Damiba was over. A new leader emerged from the dust and confusion. His name was Captain Ibrahim Traoré. One of Captain Traoré's first major policy changes was a dramatic break with France. For many years, France was Burkina Faso's main international partner. The French military had a special forces base near Ouagadougou, part of Operation Sabre. But many Burkinabés felt the presence was not helping. Protests against France became more common. Crowds carried signs. "France, go home." Crowds waved Russian flags, and some saw Russia as a potential new ally. In January 2023, the administration formally requested the withdrawal of French troops. The government gave them 1 month to leave. By late February 2023, the French flag was lowered and the last soldiers departed. The break was military and diplomatic. Relations with Paris went cold. In December 2023, French was downgraded to a working language. National languages were promoted. Judicial wigs and robes were replaced with robes made from faso d'Anfani. These steps signaled cultural independence and a wider anti-imperialist message. As Burkina Faso moved away from France, it turned toward a new partner, Russia. The relationship developed quickly after the 2022 coup. While French troops left, Russian influence grew. Ouagadougou sought military help to fight the jihadist insurgency. Russia was seen as a partner without Western political conditions. On the streets, supporters waved Russian flags alongside their own. Cooperation became concrete, equipment deliveries and training. Russian instructors arrived, initially linked to the Wagner Group. After Wagner's dissolution, they were rebranded as the Africa Corps. Russia supplied helicopters, armored vehicles, and other hardware. In December 2023, Russia reopened its embassy after 30 years. October 2023, a Rosatom MOU for a future nuclear power plant. From weapons to energy, the pivot aimed to reshape Burkina Faso's future. The new foreign policy also meant new regional alliances. Burkina Faso had long been a member of ECOWAS. Relations soured after the 2022 takeover. ECOWAS imposed sanctions. The bloc demanded a quick return to constitutional rule. Leaders in Ouagadougou called it interference. The breaking point came in January 2024. In a coordinated move, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger announced withdrawal from ECOWAS. They accused ECOWAS of betraying its principles and imposing inhumane sanctions. Already in September 2023, they had signed the Liptako-Gourma Charter. It established the Alliance of Sahel States, the AES, for collective security. Article 6. An attack on one is an attack on all. A military-led bloc emerged across the Sahel. Beyond security, they pledged political and economic integration toward a confederation. To fight the war, the government needed more soldiers, The regular army was spread thin across a vast, tough terrain. In April 2023, a new plan. General mobilization and warning. It granted special powers to address security. The state could requisition people and resources. It legalized rapid expansion of security forces. The volunteers for the defense of the homeland, the VDPs, would be scaled up. Regular people supporting the army in their communities. A campaign aimed to add 50,000 volunteers. Over 90,000 signed up. Volunteers received 2 weeks of training, then returned home. Issued weapons, they guarded villages and gathered information. The program was framed as patriotic civic duty. The message, not just the army's war, it was Burkina Faso's war. The mobilization came with a heavy price for freedom of expression. As power consolidated, dissenting voices were targeted. Journalists, civil society activists, opposition politicians. Authorities argued national unity mattered more than criticism during war. They accused critics of demoralizing troops and aiding the enemy. A climate of fear took hold. A controversial tactic: forced conscription of prominent critics. 4 journalists were detained. Months later, 3 were conscripted. In March 2025, 3 more were forcibly conscripted. International and local media were suspended for alleged false reports aiding terrorists. Independent journalism was severely limited. Information tightly controlled. Alongside security and politics, an ambitious economic agenda began. Its core: national sovereignty and self-reliance. The state aimed to reclaim key sectors, especially gold. Leaders argued Burkina Faso wasn't getting a fair share. A slogan and a structure: SOPAMIB, the state mining company. Plans for a national gold refinery to add value and jobs. The mining code was revised to increase the state's share. In 2025, nationalization accelerated. A decree transferred 5 major gold assets to SOPAMIB. 2 active mines and 3 exploration sites moved under state control. Subsidiaries of international firms ceded stakes. The old model was over. Beyond mining, local industries were encouraged. Produce what we consume. An economic nationalism tied to sovereignty, built from the ground up. Another pillar was agriculture, Food sovereignty was declared as vital as military security. Imports drained money while insecurity left fields idle. A national push to feed the nation and end reliance on imports. Improved seeds and fertilizer were subsidized and distributed. Hundreds of tractors were acquired for cooperatives. Special farms were launched on land retaken by the army. Soldiers, VDP volunteers, and civilians worked side by side. Security and development were presented as inseparable. End of 2025, Traoré announced food self-sufficiency, crediting campaigns and hard work. A powerful narrative of progress despite challenges. The campaign became a source of pride and mobilization. Whether fully accurate or not, it gave people hope and a way to contribute. Despite efforts to reclaim territory, security remained dire. Many observers said it got worse. Jihadist groups struck military targets and civilians. Deaths rose sharply after 2022. Insurgents adapted, using IEDs and base assaults. Entire villages were attacked and destroyed. April 2023. The Karma massacre left at least 136 dead. Survivors cited army uniforms. The government promised investigations. Rights groups documented alleged abuses. Reports of extrajudicial killings, disappearances, and torture increased. Authorities said they foiled coup and assassination attempts. A plot in September 2023. In January 2026, a plan to kill the president and disable a drone base. Harsher methods fueled abuses, alienation, and a vicious cycle. Into 2025 and early 2026, the junta tightened its grip. Space for opposition closed down. Measures moved the country toward authoritarian rule. A short transition gave way to delays. September 2025, a law criminalized homosexuality, the first in the nation's history. Observers saw an appeal to conservative, traditional values and a rejection of Western norms. Late January 2026, the junta dissolved all political parties. Formal political activity outside the state ended. Despite crisis, Traoré remained popular at home and across Africa. He claimed several areas had been recaptured with minimal losses. May 2025, an analyst called him arguably Africa's most popular president. At Ghana's inauguration, he reportedly received the loudest applause. The transition extends to July 2029. Traoré became eligible to run. As of early 2026, his legacy is complex and contested. On one hand, his government rewired Burkina Faso. a historic break from the colonial past, replaced by a strategic alliance with Russia. National control asserted over mineral wealth, ambitious programs for food self-sufficiency. To supporters, he is a symbol of sovereign leadership. On the other hand, the war intensified with devastating civilian tolls. Alleged abuses multiplied, the democratic space dismantled, the media muzzled. Critics conscripted, parties dissolved. A one-party, military-led path to a prolonged transition. Can authoritarian nationalism deliver security? Official claims of gains clash with independent reports of spreading conflict. Can a state that silences dissent and alienates communities achieve the unity needed to defeat insurgency? The stakes could not be higher. Burkina Faso's future and the Sahel's stability hangs in the balance. Traoré's story reflects the hard choices of nations burdened by insecurity and dependency. He offers a radical trade, sacrifice freedom for security and sovereignty. Western partners traded for Russian ones. Democratic politics replaced with military mobilization. Will this gamble yield liberation and security, or isolation and brutality? Only time will answer. The path ahead for Burkina Faso is fraught with both promise and peril. Viewer discretion. News events depicted. Verify through multiple sources.